All right, all right. Welcome, everybody. How are you? How was your weekend? Glad to have you on. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Davos 2026 World Economic Forum is happening in the Swiss Alps this week, January 19th to the 23rd in Davos, Switzerland. Over 850 CEOs from some of the top companies, Fortune 500 companies in the world are there. The theme of Davos 2026 is the spirit of dialogue. People just want to talk. Talking about talking, look at the chat window. There's a link there, a Zoom guest link for anybody interested in hopping on and opining on anything business Davos 2026. World leaders from business, government, academia, they are convening to engage in forward-looking discussions to address global issues and set priorities. Guess who's there? US President Donald Trump. I don't think he's physically at Davos yet, but on January 21st at 2:30 p.m. Central Time, he's going to be giving a speech on the America First agenda. Lots of world leaders are going to be there in person this time. Nigeria is also there too, but President Bola Tinubu is not there. On his behalf is the Vice President Shettima. We're going to talk about that. So why send Shettima? It doesn't get any bigger than the World Economic Forum. This is the biggest platform with global leaders, the people who are making the decisions today that will shape the next 20 to 30 years of our lives. Geopolitical discussions, geopolitical decisions, enterprise decisions, business decisions, artificial intelligence decisions. Those are the guys that are going to be there this week. They call it the Big Boy Club. I'm talking about the Swiss Alps, Davos. That's where they go to talk and hang out. Nvidia CEO is going to be there. Like I said, Donald Trump is going to be there, but Bola Tinubu is not. And I wonder why. The president was what? He was at, he was in Dubai, which in my own personal opinion, I think Shettima should have been in Dubai. And President Bola Tinubu, as the leader of Nigeria, should have been representing Nigeria at the world's biggest stage. This isn't Nigeria's first rodeo, though, at Davos. We've been going to Davos now for years and years. But Nigeria did something. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Nigeria did something today in the Swiss Alps, in Switzerland. Nigeria launched its first ever sovereign pavilion commissioned by Vice President Shettima. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Nigeria's first sovereign pavilion. I have a lot of opinion on that. But first, we're going to also talk about what's Nigeria's plan? What makes this year's Davos different than last year and the year before? It's just like the 54th edition. So that means we've been going around for 54 years. But this, according to the World Economic Forum's website, is going to be the largest gathering in the history of the annual meeting in the history of Davos. This is going to be the largest gathering ever. Also on the US side, this is the largest US delegation in Davos in the history of Davos. Like I said, Trump is going to be there on the 21st. He's got 45 minutes to pitch to the world what the United States is about. I looked, I couldn't find Shetima's schedule anywhere as far as like his speeches and the panels that he's going to be on. I couldn't really find any. So I can follow and monitor and bring to you my observations. See, I'm not reporting. This is just my observation of what's going on. Before we get onto the Niger side, let's talk about what other countries are doing right now in terms of enterprise. Singapore right now is hedging a lot in manufacturing. They're boosting their trade production right now with a roadmap called Green Plan 2030, which ties manufacturing. I'm talking about Singapore's manufacturing to sustainability. I'm going to give you some points from these three countries, and then we're going to talk about what Nigeria is doing. That's going to lead us into what Nigeria is doing. I'm going to share my screen with you. So this is what Singapore is doing. Remember, Singapore is younger than Nigeria. Nigeria gained its independence before Singapore. But Singapore right now, ladies and gentlemen, is running laps around Nigeria in every spectrum imaginable. Here's what Singapore is doing. Like I said, they are boosting trade and production with a roadmap called Green Plan 2030, which ties manufacturing firmly to sustainability, and it includes a $40 million for community and business projects. Let's move over and look into Europe, what Ireland is doing right now. SkillNet Ireland is a national upskilling program, which Nigeria needs. Where is Nigeria's upskilling program? We need more. Maybe it's something that Nigeria could borrow from. Look at who you want to be. Look at the countries that you want to emulate and copy what they're doing. SkillNet Ireland, I think it's a good idea that Nigeria can emulate. Not Dirty December. We want skills. We don't want Dirty December. Maybe a little bit of Dirty December too. People have to go and enjoy a little bit after breaking their back and working long. Can't be able to go to Dirty December, but outside of that, outside of Dirty December, where is our own version of branded skill set programs like SkillNet Ireland? That's a national upskilling program, by the way, led by companies. It aims to build reliable, resilient manufacturing workforce. SkillNet brings together 70 business networks to deliver subsidized training. To date, it serves more than 24,000 firms and 92,000 employees every year. Guess what the core focus is at SkillNet? Digitization, sustainability, innovation, and leadership are some of its core focus. The third one on my list here, China is scaling. You know, China, beloved China, they loan Nigeria billions and billions of dollars in exchange for our rare earth minerals in Nigeria. What's China doing? They're scaling up 5G enabled manufacturing. Its 5G network has 4 million base stations that will let it reach 71% of internet users. China has also built more than 4,000 5G factories, which can coordinate production in real time across vast distances. Now we're going to look at Nigeria's main agenda at Davos 2026. There's something unique. There's something in the air about Davos 2026. Aside of being in the Swiss Alps, enjoying the nice, cool, chill Switzerland weather, I mean, the world's biggest players are there. See, that excites me. All that, what? Hundreds and hundreds of years of experience all convened in one location. You should see the agenda. Man, I wish I could be there every single day, starting today. Today was the opening ceremony, 19th of. They're probably going to start today. They have a little opening concert, and then it's off to the races starting tomorrow until the 23rd. Every day from sun up to sundown. Closed door, keynotes. 850 of the world's global business leaders and government officials are there. You see, this is the kind of place that I want my president, President Bola Tinubu, in. CJ, how are you? Welcome. What is in the air? Trump's madness is not in the air. It's not. It's going to be at Davos on the 21st. You better pay attention to what he has to say. Where is our president? Bola Tinubu is back in Lagos right now. He sent Shetima. Shetima shouldn't be at Davos. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Shetima should not be at Davos, CJ. Tinubu should be there. Is your prime minister, is that what they call, what's his name? Is he there or is he in Canada? So there's a duality, ladies and gentlemen. There's a duality to today's session. We are going to talk about Nigeria's agenda. See, you just don't go without a plan. Actually, you can go with plans, but planning is everything. So, two things that Nigeria is doing this time around at Davos 2026 World Economic Forum. That is my lane. I love business. I love enterprise. I love economies. I love deals. To borrow from President Donald Trump, he's a deals guy. I love deals. Nigeria is in Davos for a deal, but what kind of deal is Nigeria there for? So two things is happening. Number one, we know that we are going to strike deals with nations, with organizations. That is why it pains me so much that Tinubu is not there. He should be the one on the microphone making these deals happen, just like Donald Trump is there on the mic trying to make deals happen to the United States. So we're going to address Nigeria's mindsets. What's the real deal? What's the real purpose? Why is Nigeria there? What are we going for? We should be there 100%. If Nigeria weren't in Davos, I would have a problem. It's the biggest stage now when it comes to the movers and shakers of the world. Existential decisions are made there. Geopolitical decisions are made there. So I'm glad that Nigeria is in the room. Whether Nigeria has a seat in the room is a different story, but at least Nigeria is in the room, which is good. So secondly, Vice President Shetima commissioned Nigeria's first sovereign pavilion at Davos. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the meaning behind that. What is the shift? What is the outcome that Nigeria is hoping to gain from having a physical, permanent hub at the Swiss Alps? So instead of, pardon me for a second, instead of having to rent a coffee shop or a space or let's meet in the hallway. Let's meet in a conference room to talk business. Nigeria is saying, we're not doing that anymore. We have our own pavilion. Go ahead and schedule the CEO of ABC Company to meet and discuss business inside the Nigerian pavilion at Davos 2026. Great thing. Great move. No doubt. Needed. But. And you know the but is coming. You know the BUT is coming. But is it necessary now? That is the million-dollar question. It's not as if you're going there in these forums and in these, what do you call it? Meetings to discuss, oh, let me take you out for a date or let me take you out for a cup of coffee. That's not what we're talking about. These platforms are used to make consequential business deals. So Nigeria is in Davos right now for one thing and one thing only, to make deals, to pull investments, to attract global capital into the Nigerian economy, into the Nigerian ecosystem. But guess what, guys? Investors need safety. And that's why I said that, but is it necessary now for us to invest in a pavilion at Davos with the problems that's currently going on in Nigeria? Investors they don't invest out of emotions. They don't invest because Nigeria is the last frontier or Africa is the last frontier. They don't invest based on that. They don't invest based on emotions. They are loyal to shareholders and shareholders only. A CEO of a Fortune 500 company is not going to go to Nigeria and invest if he doesn't feel safe, if he doesn't feel that his investment is safe in Nigeria. Because guess what? When a company is winning, shareholders get paid their dividends. They reinvest the dividends back into the country, and guess what? They buy more shares. That's how it works. Is Nigeria investable today, or is Nigeria uninvestable? You see, having a pavilion at Davos is my version of peacocking. We are not interested in optics. Investors are not interested in optics. They've seen this before. They're not interested in that. Do we need the pavilion? Yes, but not right now, in my personal humble opinion. Not right now. We gotta fix what's happening in Nigeria first. Nigeria is not sanctioned. For people who think that Nigeria is sanctioned, Nigeria is not sanctioned by the US. It's just that we can't travel. If the United States corporation, what is the what is the upside for them to invest in a country where the country citizens can't travel to the United States for business? Isn't that the current reality right now in Nigeria? Indefinitely, until further notice. What should have been done was Because the list that came out is 75 countries that are on the US travel ban list. It's not even like you're restricted anymore. It's like you can't, they've stopped citizenship uh, swearing in. They've stopped resident green card applications for Nigerians. I'm not saying that the hub or the pavilion shouldn't be done, but it's premature. It's premature. Yes, now PM will be there, Mark Carney. Good for him. You see what I'm saying, CJ? Your PM is there. Did your PM send his assistant? Having a bad pavilion is worse than having no pavilion. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have a pavilion. I'm just saying that we still have some house cleaning to do first back home. You can't go and pitch something in somebody else's lawn, guys, when your house is dirty. That's the whole point. Investors need confidence in the stability of a country, terms that are attractive and competitive. All of those things would need to fall in place first before Nigeria can truly attract foreign direct investments. I was just on a call with a consulting call this morning before I hopped on with Matt. He's a Nigerian based in Eastern United States. You see, Nigerians want to invest back home. It actually gives me a lot of joy. I was on that call with him. He's based out here in the United States, trying to do something back home. Good thing. But all these things need to fall in place first. See, capital does not respond to pavilions. You see, Nigeria going up there and posting up a pavilion at Davos. What is a pavilion? How does a pavilion sway or change or motivate, let me just say, CEO of Chevron that can build a pavilion just like that? They're not interested in your pavilion. They're interested in the safety of your country, Nigeria. You see, Nigeria, CJ, we talked about this celebratory. We like to celebrate. We just like it. I don't know what it is with Niger and production and this optics. The true optics is in creating an enabling environment, like I just mentioned, guys. Stability. Good optics is stability. Good optics is getting off the US do not travel ban list. If you want to do business with US corporations, isn't that good optics? Oh, Rich and America, coming to, let's have a meeting at the pavilion. I'm based in the United States, successful CEO. And then I'm walked into a meeting with a Nigerian inside a Nigerian pavilion. The first thing I'm going to ask is, this travel ban that you're on, what's up? Oh, what's happening in northern Nigeria with all this negative news about the kidnappings and the terrorisms and instability? Oh, yeah, by the way, let's not forget the travel advisory. What's up with all that stuff? You see, all that stuff has to be cleaned up first before you can get me excited, before you can get me to write that check. All that needs to be cleaned up. That should be Nigeria's focus. It's not going up and setting up a pavilion. You see, there's nothing I can do, we can do now. The deed is done. The pavilion is already there. Guess who's going to maintain the pavilion? Because it's not cheap. It's not as if you're just going to go and set up a pavilion in the Swiss Alps. A pavilion catered to, think about this for a second. The World Economic Forum happens once a year for 7 days. How many weeks do we have in a year? 52 weeks. So the remaining 51 weeks, we are still paying rent. Well, I kind of think the delegates, though, maybe the delegates are usually there a week in advance. I think Chitima showed up there 2 days ago. So the delegates are going to need a place to chill and hang out and brainstorm and plan. So I'll give you, actually, let me just give you a month. Let's just say we truly just use that pavilion for 30 days out of the year. So that's 12, that's a month. The other 11 months, it just sits dormant. Nigerian taxpayers paying the bill to keep the lights on there. I don't know how much the rent is, CJ. We are talking about the Swiss Alps. We're talking about where capital flows. It's a multi-million dollar deal. I don't have the figures yet on what rent is there, but I doubt it'll be less than $1 million. Maybe it's in this article that I'm going to show you guys right now. Let me share my screen with you so you guys can see what I'm seeing. And then we'll look at another article and we'll break it down. Just like I saw this, I'm going to read this. We're going to read this together to see. Guys, conditions have to be in place for the peacocking to work. You see, the peacocking, aka the pavilion, is not going to work if these conditions that I mentioned earlier are not in place. You see, I kind of liken it to what we are stepping over dollars to pick up pennies. Another analogy that I'm going to use is Nigeria is taking a bath with its clothes on. Try it. Hop in the shower, ladies and gentlemen, one day with your hats, this American hats that I'm wearing, hop in it with this nice sweater that I'm wearing. Try and take a shower with your clothes on. Tell me how that feels. What Nigeria is doing right now. You see, we got to take the clothes off. Taking the clothes off means we got to fix the country. I'm not saying that one has to be completed before the other takes shape. I think Nigeria should still continue to go look for partners. Like I said, Bola Tinubu was just in the UAE, striking a UAE trade and export deal with Nigeria and the United Arab Emirates. I'm not saying that should happen. We definitely need those deals. But Nigeria is always going to receive the short stick of that deal because we don't really have leverage. You see, the person with the most leverage gets the better deal. The United States has, as an example, has all of the leverage in the world. So in any deal that the United States strikes, you bet your bottom dollar the United States of America has the longer stick, has the better deal. You don't fight fair now. There's no such thing as a 50-50 deal. If I have all of the leverage, I want 60%, 60-40, maybe even 70-30. If I have all of the leverage, you see, Nigeria, we are going into these deals with, I don't think we have leverage. We don't have the leverage of environment. We don't have the leverage of continuity. We don't have the leverage of policy. Capital prioritizes safety before optics. Investors and capital, they underwrite risk first. Risk first. When you're sitting in a meeting with that CEO or that government leader inside that pavilion that we went to. They're going to analyze Nigeria for risk. Let me tell you something. Here's my point. We don't need that. The UAE probably has their own pavilion. The United States probably has their own pavilion. Canada probably has their own pavilion. So what's going to happen if I'm going to use CJ as an example. If your PM wants to to meet with Tinubu, and PM of Canada has their own pavilion, and then not Tinubu, Shetima, and PM of Canadian PM has its own pavilion, and Nigerian PM has the Nigeria's house pavilion called the Nigeria House. So, so where do you go? Does Canada say come to my pavilion, and then does Nigeria say come to my own? Like, where do you agree? That's the point. It cancels itself out. We don't need this. It's premature. Let me take that back. I'm going to dial that back. I'm not saying we don't need it. I'm just saying it is premature. Resources could have been spent doing something else. Like, oh, the programs that I talked about was Singapore's doing with the production roadmap called Green Plan 2030. It's Nigeria's roadmap. Wait a minute. Okay, so Bola Tinubu has the Nigeria Renewed Hope, which we are going to look at. I know Dangote has Dangote Vision 2030. See, everybody has a 5-year roadmap. I want to see what Nigeria is doing in Nigeria's 5-year roadmap. Something to get Nigerians excited. So we're going to look at, I'm going to open this app because I promised you this. But before we do that, let me see what CJ is talking about. We will just go there to beg for money. You see, that's the consensus that Nigeria is a beggar. All we do is go to these forums and go to these events, and then we just go and then we dobale and kneel down and say, you eight, yeah, beg, I need $8 billion. China, beg, I need 2, 3 million. Oh, sorry, we don't speak in, do we speak in billions now or in millions? I don't think Nigeria at this stage should be doing, in my own personal opinion, any deal less than $1 billion. So the capitalist in me, I love money. I don't know. Are we going to sit in our own house at the pavilion and beg people for money? I don't know. You see, for this guy, CJ, it's not about the money. It's about, okay, if I give you this money that you're asking for, how am I going to recoup it back? You see what's happening right now in Venezuela. ExxonMobil CEO told President Trump to his face that Venezuela is uninvestable. Not only as a result of Venezuela's asphalt thick tar like oil. It's uninvestable because the regime is in question right now. Nobody really knows what's going to happen. I think that's the reason why Exxon CEO said that the country is uninvestable. Nigeria is not to that extent of Venezuela, though. Fortunately for us. But we still have some underpinning infrastructure issues that needs to be fixed. For you to get capital interest and capital investment, and also for you to be able to be competitive. So let's look at this Shetima commissioning of Nigeria's first ever Nigerian pavilion in Davos. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. Like, bear with me. Ah. All right, let's look at this. This was in today, January 19th. By the way, Presidential Villa State House. If you guys want to follow anything that happens in Nigeria, this is a website you may want to consider bookmarking. It's called the Presidential Villa State House. And you can find the information in the article section. So WEF, excuse me, guys, 2026, that's the World Economic Forum 2026. Nigeria's Vice President Kasim Shettima commissions first ever Nigerian pavilion in Davos. The Vice President, ladies and gentlemen, Senator Kasim Shettima. Sorry, pause this. Before I read that, CJ said, we can learn a lot from Singapore's growth. 100%. I've been reading about it. I cannot disagree with you. So, Vice President Senator Kasim Shettima, how are you a vice president and also a senator at the same time? So, he was a previous, he's no longer a senator, guys, writer. These Nigerian writers. He's the vice president of Nigeria. So the vice president title supersedes the senator title. So we can actually lose that senator title. So the vice president of Nigeria is not the vice president command senator. No, that's not how it works. So Senator Kasim Shettima has said the opening of Nigeria, this is going to give us an understanding, a little bit of a context behind the point and the reason for this Nigeria. I've kind of given you a little bit of what it's about. But I want to read through this to see what they're thinking. Just give you a little bit of my analogy, a little bit of a summary of what I think this is about. I don't think I'm too far off. So he said the opening of Nigeria House, that's what it's called. This pavilion is called the Nigeria House. You can see that photograph there. There's something a little bit sketchy though about that. That kind of looks like a Nigerian building, doesn't it? Look at the ceiling. It doesn't look upscale to me. It kind of looks a little bit run down. Just a little bit. I'm not getting a full picture here, guys. I don't know. I mean, I hope this is not the inside. Maybe this is the entrance to the house. I don't know. But you can see the Welcome to Nigeria signboard there, Nigeria House at Davos. That is what it is called, Nigeria House. I hope this is not inside the house. I hope this is not what they're renting with that chandelier, that crystal chandelier. I hope that little ceiling fan that looks like Nigeria ceiling fan. I hope that's not it. If it is, man, it'll be shameful. So, Nigerian House in Davos reflects the country's renewed seriousness, readiness, and resolve to take its place as an active participant in shaping global economic conversations. Shettima observed that while nations do not prosper in isolation, Nigeria's future growth depends on deliberate, structured engagement with the global economy. And then he goes there to say Senator Shettima again. Like I said, he's the vice president of Nigeria, ladies and gentlemen. He's not a senator. Let's address him by his title. Maybe when he leaves off, even when he leaves office, he's still the vice president of Nigeria. He's no longer a senator. He stated on Monday, today, all of this is happening today, guys. Monday, the 19th. This is when all of this is happening. At Sweet House. So he stated during the formal opening of the Nigeria House at the 2026 World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. According to the VP, Nigeria marked a historic milestone in its global economic engagement with the official opening of its house at the WEF 2026. I think that's a historic milestone. It's just an office space that you got. A milestone that would get us excited is please stop putting us on do not travel lists. And we don't want to be in what? On the restricted countries and money laundering and terrorism financing. So we just got out of that. See, that would have been a milestone. It's not a building, it's not a milestone. That's like saying you're putting up a church. That's not a milestone, it's just a building and an office. So I'm not excited. I am not excited. Doesn't excite me one iota. Quotes. This day is extraordinary in the history of our engagements at this beautiful meeting point of global political leadership, policy thinkers, and corporate enterprise. For the first time in our nation's history, Nigeria stands at Davos with a sovereign pavilion of its own. That is not excitement news. We could have been better off renting a space somewhere. I'm pretty sure there are hundreds of conference spaces there that Nigeria could rent. See, this is also, like I said, showcasing Nigeria. We love to showcase. We love noise. Nobody's really looking at the signal. The deeper signal here is that we need to fix home first. We need to make Nigeria attractive to investors and global capital. Right now, it's not. Right now, it's bordering on investable to some people. You gotta really be brave and confident. You see, Nigeria, the sentiment right now is you can't invest things that you can afford to lose. So if you go into Nigeria right now, just know by the time if you're thinking about investing in Nigeria today, it better be something that you can afford to lose. Which borderline makes Nigeria to some degree uninvestable. You see, a platform like the WEF, World Economic Forum, isn't where to go, where you go. Nobody's interested in your pavilion and nobody's interested in your hub and room. Nobody's interested in that. They're interested in mitigation of risks. How are they going to see their investments back? Is Nigeria a place that they can come in and invest for decades to come, or is it a money grab? Right now, that's really what it is right now to most people. It's just a quick money grab. Let me come in for a year or two, maybe 5 years, see what I can do and exit. On the topic of exit too, what's the exit strategy for most of these corporations? We are taxing them left and right, are we not? We tax them when they come in, we tax them when they get out. Aren't these the things that we should be focused on right now instead of going around and look at that photo, opening up a building and then inviting people and you're gonna serve champagne and drinks, and then at the end of the day, you go back to being Nigerian. I'm not excited. Villain of its own, it says Nigeria, nation's history. Nigeria House is a response to the lapses of the past. How is the building a response to the lapses of the past, ladies and gentlemen? Tell me. A building? An office space? Who are the ones planning this? Who authorized this? I'm pretty sure this doesn't happen without the signature of the president of Nigeria. She just said that we need to focus on regional development in Nigeria. Let governors develop their state, optimize electricity and security first, and then go from there. You see, CJ, what you're talking about is called foundation. You can't put up a building without a solid foundation. You're also talking about systems. You see, we lapse in systems. Anybody can put up a building. What does it cost when you reach out if you want to rent space at the WEF and then they give you a rate? All you do is write a check and then boom, you have an office space. How long did that take? 2 minutes. The underlying issue is what Nigeria should be looking into. And we are not there yet. That's the real lapse. The building is not a real lapse in the past, according to this writer. Well, I'm pretty sure it was not Tinubu Shetima that said this. See, Shetima is linking Nigeria's lapses to a building structure. It reflects our intention, it reflects our seriousness. Above all, it advertises both our readiness and our resolve to take a frontline seat in the discourse of the global economy, not as observers, but as participants with a clear sense of purpose and space. You can do this, Vice President Shetima, without a building now. For those of you who are Christians and Muslims, don't you occasionally pray at home? Do you absolutely need to have a physical church or a physical mosque to be a true Christian or a true Islam follower? I'm not talking about the radicals. I'm talking about true, Islamic following, teachings of Muhammad and the teachings of Jesus Christ. Do you need a physical church to do that? Unfortunately, our Vice President Shettima thinks a building is a solution. A building with four walls and a roof and a fan and air conditioning, the Swiss Alps is the solution. When the real issue isn't even physical, to be quite honest with you. The real issue is more mental and behavioral. Whether Nigeria is going to be able to change Nigeria's mindsets, I don't see that happening in our lifetimes. Everybody, I don't know. I don't know. 65 years right now, Nigeria has gained its independence of just squalor of behaviors, one bad decision after the next. Just like how this pavilion is a bad investment. I'm not talking about the monetary aspect of it. I'm talking about the time aspect of this. Because it takes time to kind of put all of this together. And it takes resources to put all of this together, doesn't it? Let's keep talking. Let's keep reading on to see if this villa talks about anything tangible from Nigeria. I say right now it's just all about, oh, we put up a building, we have an office, we don't want to be observers anymore. We want to be participants. So hold on one second. For the past 10 years, Nigeria at Davos, you've been participating for the past 10 years. Sorry, you've been observing for the past 10 years and not participating. Okay. So now, ladies and gentlemen, let me go ahead and stop this for a second and then we'll get back to it. So let's give them the benefit of the doubt. If this building or this office space is all we needed, if this office space is built in to solve Nigeria's problem on the world economic space, so the benefit of the doubt that we're going to give them is this. Let's see what happens in the next year or two. Or is it going to be the same song? Does this building change anything? The way that they're praising and the way that they're positioning this building kind of seems to me that this is Nigeria's solution. We've been observing for far too long. You see, now we have a space where we can actually participate. Okay, so we come in there and then we sit down with Canada and we sit down with the US and we talk. At the end of the day, where do we go from there? We are still on the banned list. Are we going to get out of that list? What's the plan of getting out of that list? Let's say in the next 6 months is too far. I'm going to give you 90 days, 3 months. The building is not the problem. But if you think the building is the issue, then I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and see what happens in the next, a year or two. Maybe by Davos 2027. We could sit down again and say, okay, as a result of this building, Nigeria is able to go from here to here to here to here as a result of this building. But let me go ahead and share the screen again and get back to the reading, ladies and gentlemen. So now we're participants. We're no longer observers because we now have a physical building, don't we? Now, the vice president pointed out that even though Nigeria House may have been conceived as a whole of government platform led by the Honorable Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, her name is Jumoke. We're going to get into her once we're done with this. With senior leadership across investment, foreign affairs, energy, infrastructure, technology, climate, and culture gathered under one roof, the true essence of the house must come from the private sector. Oh, man. Oh, my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, what is the one thing the Nigerian private sector needs? We need energy. We need consistent energy. We need security. You see, now you're talking. This is about the private sector. Only the private sector can make this work. But we need the basics in place first, ladies and gentlemen. The true essence of the house must come from the private sector. But I highly doubt that the private sector was consulted. I don't see the private sector there. Guess what I see? The cabinet is what I see. The Minister of Industry is what I see. The senior leadership across investment, foreign affairs, energy, infrastructure is what I see. Where is the private sector represented in this decision? CJ said, regional development. Oh, hopefully by the private sector, right? I doubt the private sector would have agreed to this pavilion. How many people in the private sector can go to the Swiss Alps every year? Why does a hub have to be in the Swiss Alps of all places and not in commercial centers in Nigeria? Shouldn't Nigeria House, CJ, this is the hub that you and I were talking about, CJ. We could have had the Nigeria House in Lagos. We could have had the Nigeria House in Abuja. We could have a Nigeria House in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State. We could have a Nigeria House in Port Harcourt. Why are we taking the Nigeria House to the Swiss Alps? How many Nigerians in the private sector can afford to go to Davos? You see the misalignment. You guys see the misalignment? Or am I the only one that sees the misalignment? Governments can open doors, create frameworks, and de-risk environments. Only enterprise can animate growth, scale opportunity, and translate policy into productivity. This house will thrive to the extent that it draws life from private capital, private innovation, and private confidence, Shetima said. Where are the frameworks? You say open doors. Which doors are we opening? Is it the UAE door? Remember, we had the AGOA door with the United States open for 25 years. 80% of Nigerian exporters didn't even know what AGOA is. Stop sharing for a sec. So the vice president of Nigeria talked about the doors that we are opening. The doors Let's talk about financing for a second. Don't you know the average APR on a business loan right now is about 34%? How many Nigerians can actually afford that? I'm talking about Nigerian business owners, small businesses can actually afford that. Let's talk about contracts. The majority of the Nigerian construction contracts right now are awarded to international companies. Don't you know that? Go down the road in Lagos, go down the road in Abuja, go down the road. Majority of those people who are building those roads are international companies from Syria. We are awarding companies to, to Syrian companies, not to Nigerian, indigenous Nigerian operators. The vice president again talked about frameworks. I want more specificity on those frameworks that we're talking about. We need more specifics on those frameworks. And then you're talking about de-risking. You see, this is not a jab at Vice President Shettima. I'm just saying there's a misalignment right here. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Trying to get you guys to understand the misalignment. The intention is there. It's always good to have intention. I see the intention of this job, this Niger house. So this is not a job at Shetima. The alignment is what I don't see with the true realities of what's going on right now in Nigeria. Look, one of my friends, she's also a good loyal viewer. She said something about this Nigerian pavilion needs to be at trade shows, conferences, and conventions all across the United States and the world. Obviously, we're not going to be able to service everybody, but I'm talking about critical strategic trade shows and summits. Nigeria needs to be represented. And those quote unquote pavilion has to be subsidized by the Nigerian government at the regional level. My point is this. The Swiss Alps hub, this Nigerian house at the Swiss Alps right now, doesn't really serve the backbone of any nation's economy. Think about it. The backbone are small to medium-sized enterprises. Those are the ones that run we call them here the mom and pop store. They're the ones that run the United States economy. It's the mom and pop operations. The private sector, were they invited? See, all of this is new. This just cannot do. I know they posted it last week that they're going to drop a Nigeria house at Davos. If it's underpinned by the private sector, were they consulted? Let me continue sharing this with you because I want you to see what I'm reading. Continue. So he said, de-risk environment. In what way now? Wasn't there just a recent attack in Niger State a couple of days ago, maybe a week ago? How are we de-risking? Only enterprise can animate growth, scale opportunity, and translate policy into productivity. Okay, so we covered that. So VP Shetima explained that the dividends of the Tinubu administration's reforms are beginning to materialize, noting that our decision to open up to the world more deliberately comes as a turning point in our economic journey. The dividends of the difficult but inevitable reforms of recent years are beginning to show, he added, recalling that in 2025, Nigeria's economy expanded by about 3.9%, the fastest pace recorded in over a decade, driven largely by a resilient non-oil economy. I know that we are diversifying out of dependence on fossil fuels, which is good. That's an area that needs a little bit more hug. Let's give our non-oil sector more hug. Wait a minute. That now accounts for roughly 96% of GDP. How does the non-oil sector account for 96% of the GDP? I don't think that's true. Non-oil sector, what, 12.8 billion dollars last year in non-oil revenue? Is that 96% of Nigeria's GDP? The VP continued, services, agriculture, finance, and technology are expanding while non-oil revenues now make up nearly three-quarters of government collections, marking a structural shift away from oil dependence. Inflation, inflation is going to eat all that up now. I know Nigeria said inflation has dropped significantly, but what's driven by what? Inflation, which stood above 30% in the late 2024, eased significantly. All this is news. I want to hear about this pavilion. Stop telling me something I already know. He invited the international business community to leverage the platform created through the Nigeria House project, noting that Nigeria is open, of course. Don't you guys just love that? We are open for business. Don't you like that? Nigeria is always saying that we're open for business. Who is it? Oh, is America closed for business? Is Canada closed for business? Is Singapore closed for business? When they say that we are open for business, people can get excited. That's nothing to be excited about. Maybe we should probably actually stop saying that. It's implied that we are open for business. You don't have to remind everybody about that. Nigeria, it says here too, but more importantly, Nigeria is open for collaboration. VP Shechima assured that the Nigeria House will host conversations that must have to move the nation and the global community forward. We are here to learn from you just as much as we are here to inform you of the opportunities that await in Nigeria. Let's see if they're going to expand more on that opportunity. Progress is not a monologue, it's a dialogue. I love that. Hey, like I said, the theme of the World Economic Forum is the spirit of dialogue. I like that idea of people being able to sit across the table from each other and have a conversation. Here's what I bring to the table. What do you bring to the table? Let's see how that aligns and see how we can work together. Dialogue is important. Okay, earlier, Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, applauded the support of the Vice President. I think pretty much Oduwole set this whole thing up. I want to talk to you, Mrs. Dr. Jumoke Oduwole. I have some questions for you. For the realization of the historical vision for Nigeria House, Davos, acknowledging his disposition and encouragement in the project. Dr. Jumoke Oduwole said the project demonstrates a strong public-private partnership and reflects the rejuvenation of the Nigerian economy, showcasing a unique sense of national pride and a shift from how Nigeria engages with the rest of the world, especially the international business community. Isn't it interesting, or doesn't it strike you funny that Nigeria doesn't really touch on our current issues? It's as if we are avoiding what I call the big elephant in the room. I wish Nigeria could have addressed it. Yes, we are going through some growing pains right now. We have issues right now. We are trying to get off this do not travel ban list so that this collaboration that we are talking about with countries can actually materialize. Because guess what? How can you collaborate with, let's say, a country like the United States of America if you can't go there? Talking about if you're a Nigerian business owner, a Nigerian operator, you want to be able to travel and visit the people that you're partnering with. So let's say your partner is a US based company. Right now, you can't go nowhere, man. You are trapped unless you have a dual passports. So if you're a dual citizen of, let's say, in the UK, you can travel. But if you hold that green Nigerian passport, you are crippled. You can't go anywhere right now. Well, you can go to maybe the UK, you can go to Dubai, but you can't come to the United States. Can do that. So, highlighting the gains. Where am I in this list of those reading? Let's keep moving. Highlighting the gains of President Tinubu's economic reforms are incentives for private sector investments. Dr. Duwale said Nigeria under the current dispensation is rebuilding trust. That's a key word. I don't know about rebuilding though. How are you rebuilding something like that? Did you ever have the trust to begin with? You see, trust has to be broken before it can be rebuilt. You gain trust, you lose that trust, and you rebuild the trust. So the rebuilding is probably not a key word. So you're building trust. You you want credibility and positioning. This is what we talked about earlier about leverage. When your business partners trust you, they trust the regime, they trust Nigeria as a stabilized country, they trust that they're going to get their investments back, they trust that they're not going to be screwed. That gives Nigeria the credibility it needs and the leverage it needs to be able to strike a deal. So then that way we are not going, like CJ said, going around and begging for collaboration and begging for support and begging for help. Do I believe that Nigeria is a place that you could grow your wealth? I think so. It's just like the risk, man. It's a high reward environment. Sometimes depends on how personally, I don't really have a lot of tolerance for risk taking. So I take measured. I move in a measured capacity. I analyze and I think things through. I'm talking about in my dealings with Nigeria. So Jumoke noted that the playbooks being launched at the event is part of a broad strategy to leverage Nigeria's potential in the solid minerals, climate sustainable agriculture, creative and digital sector. We are going to dive into this in another article here shortly. Let me just finish this. In his remarks, the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Solid Minerals Development, Engineer Farouk Yusuf Yano, outlined major interventions and initiatives undertaken by the administration of President Tinubu in the solid minerals and related sectors, aimed at diversifying and reforming the Nigerian economy. He said Nigeria House Davos represents a deliberate action to consolidate the gains of President Tinubu's economic transformation efforts through high-level engagements, and it goes on and on and on. But what they don't really say is that how do the private sector access this Nigeria House? Is it open all year round? Or is it just open during that Davos window? It doesn't say. And you would think that something like the Nigeria House would have its own microsite or maybe even its own Instagram or social media page so interested parties can go and inquire on how to access and use Nigeria House, that information. And I know this is the inauguration, this is the first launch of this particular project. But anyway, only time will tell. But to wrap this up, while I do commend the intention, I think it's still largely premature and it's unnecessary. We gotta clean up the house first. Now, let's look at this. This article was written on January 9th. This is ahead of the World Economic Forum. And like I said, about what Nigeria really hopes to gain. So we just finished talking about the Nigeria House and what they're planning on doing with that. But as far as like Davos itself is concerned, where's Nigeria's state of mind? That's really what I'm looking for here. What are we going there for? What are we going there for? So let's read this through. The federal government announces the establishment of Nigeria House. So we get that. We just finished talking about that. The landmark initiative marks Nigeria's first national house on the Davos Promenade, represents a strategic national platform to project Nigeria's economic reforms, readiness, institutional strength, and cultural identity on the global stage. Nigeria House Davos is designed to say, we get that, we get that. This is alignment with administration's renewed hope agenda. Nigeria House is a result of, okay, I get that. I need more information on why. Let's just say we didn't have Nigeria House. What are we at Davos there? I know we are not going there just to open the Nigeria House. This structure combines, okay, this is still all about the house. Nigeria House will serve as sovereign convening platform for ministerial engagements, high-level roundtables, policy dialogues. Yeah. Okay, so I guess we went to to Davos just to launch Nigeria House. Kind of seems like what we went there for. But I'm pretty sure, we're there too. We want to strike deals. Is this specific deals what I'm talking about? Are we leaning forward more with like minerals or with agriculture, raw resources? What is Nigeria really bringing to the table for the world? That is something that is not clear with what we are doing in Davos. CJ said that they should hire, collaborate with a country firm to do high standard police and military training, increase military and police salaries, and recruit heavily while optimizing electricity and distribution. I think Nigeria is currently working with countries like, I know the United States Special Forces trains Nigeria. I know Nigeria works with the United States Air Force as far as like I think last month Nigeria ordered like 4 or 5 helicopters or something. They have to be trained by from the United States, by the way. They have to be trained by US operators to be able to operate those helicopters to fight the criminality that's happening in northern Nigeria right now. So I know that Nigeria trains heavily. I know the US Afri Command, Nigeria is partnered with them as well to be able to train our forces. Uh, yeah. I mean, I think they're doing what they can on that regard. As far as like technology is concerned, like this artificial intelligence technology, aerial technology, those techs are largely US techs. Nigeria uses those as well. What about policing? I mean, didn't we just hire some people? Didn't they just open like the police academy up for new recruits? But those guys are going to be trained. It's going to take a little bit of time though for them to actually be deployed within the country. It's going to take at least a good six months. But Nigeria is recruiting people. But I think the biggest way to solve the issue is just going to be more in behavioral investments. We gotta have programs in place. Now, some people with all this stuff that's happening in Nigeria right now, you could have some of the best programs in place. You could have some of the best resources in place. Some people are just damn criminals. There's nothing that you can do. You can have all the training in the world, all the opportunities in the world. So I always say, opportunity does not equal outcome. You can spoon feed some of these people, CJ. They are still going to go the path of criminality, unfortunately. You can have all of the enterprise in the world, good and bad. There's still going to be people that are just trying to scheme and rob and steal. But I feel like we got to curb migration though in a way. And in order for you to do that, we have to decentralize Nigeria economically. Nigeria needs to be decentralized because everything right now is centralized. When you think of quote unquote opportunity, it's only centralized in Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt. I think Akwa Ibom is the only place now that's starting to kind of break away and they're doing their own thing. Akwa Ibom State now is attracting people. People enjoy living there. So Nigeria needs to be decentralized. We can't have all of our eggs in Abuja and Lagos. There needs to be other markets. I talked about it this morning on my consultation with Matt. It's like you look at the United States, and I'm sure CJ, you're in Canada. You look at the provinces in Canada. It's decentralized. You can go to Saskatchewan and live a meaningful life and run a meaningful business. You can go to Montreal. You can go to other parts of the provinces within Canada. So imagine if everything is centralized in Saskatchewan or Montreal. Same thing with the United States. The United States is decentralized. You can literally, in this day and age with technology and being an AI digital AI age now, you could literally live anywhere in the United States of America and make a living. A lot of people did that during the pandemic. They left San Francisco, they left freaking LA, and they moved to places like Montana, they moved to places like Utah, they moved to places like Tennessee. Most companies right now, they are what? Work from home remotely. Maybe you come in every quarter in a family face, sorry, not a family, organization face-to-face meeting. We used to do that when I worked for, I'm not going to name the name of the company I used to work for. We would have like this annual meeting in just choice locations all over the United States. The last one that I went to was done in New Orleans. The company funded everybody. Come to New Orleans for a week. They put us up in a nice hotel. We had so much fun. And then everybody just kind of dispersed and went off and kind of did their own thing remotely. So maybe it's these frameworks that Shetima is talking about. But then again, the Nigerian painting or the Nigerian movie is not really clear. We have a habit, unfortunately, of being too dependent on ceremony. We want to go and cut the ribbon. Okay, so now that the Nigeria House has officially launched in Davos. Okay, so they're going to have meetings from now. The event ends on the 23rd. What happens on the 24th of January when everybody goes home? Do you have to live in the Swiss Alps as a Nigerian to be able to use that center? I just don't see how that center benefits the private sector in Nigeria. Good intention, good intention. I don't see the alignment, especially with where Nigeria wants to go. Notice, you know, that these people, Singapore's roadmap, Singapore 2030, where is Nigeria's roadmap? Why wasn't a roadmap brought forth here? You get my point. Why wasn't a roadmap brought for these are the things that we're thinking about doing for the next 5 years? You see, I don't believe in 10-year plans anymore. The way the world is going right now, if you don't have a concrete 5-year plan, you are not ready. I'm talking about the speed. What's happening? If you don't have a 5-year plan in place, you're not ready. Salaries are poor. We know Nigerian police officers are underpaid. I don't know what they are making, but I probably doubt that the average Nigerian cadet or the Nigerian police officer is making more than 200,000 naira a month. 95% of Nigerians don't make 200,000 naira per month. So when you see that police officer face to face with an armed gang of uh, criminals, you think he's going to sit there and exchange fire? He's not going to throw his. You guys have heard the stories now. Something will happen. The police officer will take off his uniform and put on civilian uniform, civilian clothes, and blend it. That's another podcast. Or they have their machine guns, but they don't have enough bullets. The police. That's why I always tell you guys: don't hedge your life on security in Nigeria. For those of you who travel to Nigeria and you're going around and you're hiring somebody for 10,000 naira a day, and then you're calling that person security. If something goes down, that person will run and leave you hanging. You are better off on your own. I had this discussion yesterday with one of my colleagues that just came back from Nigeria. He went for 30 December and a little bit of an investment trip. He said, man, I drive myself everywhere I go. That's why it pays for you to have your own house, have your own car, have your own privacy. So nobody knows your ins and outs. For those who are into putting on showcases and then you are going there and you are hiring a security team that are charging you 10, 20,000 naira a day. Those are the ones that's actually set people up. Don't you know that? You're better off on your own. Be discreet. Go in and out. Nobody knows your movement. Hopefully you have a house that only you live in. So nobody knows your ins and outs. They don't know what you eat for breakfast. They don't know what you eat for lunch. They don't know what you eat for dinner. When you're done doing your business in Nigeria, you pack up, you move, you go back abroad to your family. You want to go and hedge your existence on a Nigerian police officer that makes 100,000 naira a, you know, I saw I saw an article recently about how a governor was giving civil officials 100,000 naira bonuses for Christmas. That's what I give my team. I'm not a governor. If a private sector guy can give his team 100K for bonus for Christmas, and a governor is giving the same amount, it just shows you that most of these people are not earning really living. I mean, they earn wages to survive, but they're not earning a wage to take a bullet for you. So could we pay more? I don't know. I mean, I suppose we could. CJ said, and Abia, yes, hopefully Abia, the person I spoke to earlier is from Edo State, and we talked about that. Like, we need to decentralize Nigeria. We need to decentralize Nigeria, you know. Great discussion. Gotta run to a meeting. See you at the next one. Let's do something in Abia and Akwa Ibom. We are neighbors. Maybe you can review Singapore's approach to development one day. Actually, that's not a bad idea. But anyway, okay, I'm an hour and a half into this. I'm trying to, ladies and gentlemen, trying to keep these live sessions to about under an hour or so. But I just kind of tend to keep going and going and going. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I'm going to be posting and sharing more because I'm following Davos religiously. I'm actually a subscriber to the World Economic Forum's um, community because I want to be in the know of what's happening. And then everything that I learn, I'm going to come and share them with you guys on the Bearcat podcast. But yeah, what do you think about Nigeria House in Davos? Was it needed? Was it premature? Do you think it benefits the private sector? Do you think it just benefits the Nigerian government? Do you think it's more about showcasing and showboating and peacocking? Is this more of an optics thing to show that Nigeria has arrived? Look at our office, look at our pavilion. I mean, it's great advertising for Nigeria, I'm not gonna lie. Thousands and thousands of people are going to be at the Swiss Alps. So if everybody is walking past and then they see a Nigeria branded Nigeria house, I suppose advertising wise, marketing wise is a good thing. But at the core of it, was it needed? All right, guys, I gotta run. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, share, and comment. And if content like this resonates with you, consider subscribing. How many subscribers are we right now? I think we're about 21,000 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. And for the future, remember, look at the chat. I'm always going to put a Zoom link on the chat for anyone interested in coming on as a guest to share their opinion on the podcast. You are welcome to do so. All right. Until the next one, guys, I hope you have a wonderful day. And be sure to like, share, and comment. My name is Richard Barricat. I'm based in Las Vegas, Nevada, founder of Embarricat.com. Check out the website, embarricat.com. And